It's about identifying the patterns as opposed to sticking to like the core material.
Yeah.
Geology has a lot of analysis, a lot of creativity. It's being able to see that and say, I have the skill set, the methodologies are similar. How can I use these methodologies in a different setting? And being open-minded enough to actually do that.
Good day. Welcome to another episode of Discover Talent with Vico.net. Today I'm with Lindokuhle Makhathini. How are you?
I'm feeling great. It's nice to be here today. This opportunity is out of this world. Like to be able to talk about one's talent and have the platform. It's such a humbling experience, I suppose. So I'm glad to be here today.
No, thank you. Thank you for accepting our invitation. We are at the HR Directors Conference in Cape Town, so we're privileged to have you here. One of the reasons I was so looking forward to talk to you is that obviously your background is geology, as a geologist and then transitioning into a business role, right? That's a conversation I would like to explore, but maybe let's start from the beginning. Why geology?
Thank you for the question. Very good question, actually. If someone were to look at my career, they'd be like, this girl, she seems confused. Like she was studying rocks before.
Yeah.
Now she's working in corporate space. Like what happened?
Yeah.
So going back to high school, I studied at the Peter Marisburg Girls High School. And I was really inspired by my geography teacher. Actually, she was fantastic. There was a section of geography called geomorphology that I fell in love with. Growing up in KwaZulu-Natal and seeing the rolling mountains, I've always had that fascination of how did these, mountains form? Like, why do we have valleys? Why do we have all of these things that we're learning in geography? And that inspired me to actually go to university and study something that would help me understand that. But at the same time, I wanted to contribute back to society, and I wanted to be in a field that I felt that I was using my talents, my knowledge, and the education that I would get to contribute back. And that's where I found myself in mining. Geology specifically. Geology is common for geologists to go into the mining sector.
Correct.
Mining sector contributes almost 10% to the country's GDP. Yeah. And I felt that, okay, well, there's a lot of transformation potential here. I might as well study something that will help me bring back. In geology, I loved the rocks, but over time, things become repetitive.
Yes.
So whenever there was an opportunity for me to stretch myself, I took it with both hands.
Yeah.
And there were opportunities for me to do projects across the mining part of the operation as well as the process plant. And I found myself falling in love with data and analytics and how we can use simple numbers, find insights from them, and then be able to, change how we do things, improve safety on the ground as well. Yeah. I suppose my passion for that, my leaders at the time saw potential in me, and I got an opportunity to work in the office of the CEO as an analyst there, where I got the opportunity to see the business from end to end, but also the industry as a whole, to see how it functions and how to see how my work as a geologist was actually impacting not just the business, but at the end of the day, like the byproducts of what we're doing in mining.
Yeah.
And in that, I thought, well, I'm always wanting to continually improve myself. And I got an opportunity to go pursue my master's degree, an MBA specializing in business analytics in the UK. Okay. And in there, I was able to build up more of my technical skills within analytics. So that's how I transitioned from geology, studying rocks, to where I am right now.
Okay. So, as a geologist, did you have opportunity to go underground?
I did. So I was primarily working at an open pit operation,
Okay.
which was great because I believe I have a bit of claustrophobia. so so it was great. Like I was able to see the rocks, the ore quite clearly.
Yes.
But I did have the privilege, not just in my professional career, but also in my undergrad honors, actually.
Yes.
The school I went to, we were able to tour some mines in South Africa, both open pit
Yeah.
as well as underground. And I got that exposure to go in deep
Yeah.
and see how
Okay.
people work
Okay.
there.
So before you were, employed and as a geologist, at least you knew what this was about, right?
Yes,
And you mentally prepared yourself for what you're
exactly.
getting yourself into. Okay. What type of mining was it out of interest?
Where I was working,
Yes.
it was primarily an open pit mining, so it was not underground, surface mining,
Yeah.
and we're mining base metals.
Okay. It was more
Yes,
base metals. Okay.
yes.
All right. So now you are this geologist, open pit, base metals. Um, what skills did you have to, because moving from that technical background to an analyst in the offices of the CEO, right? There must have been something you did in between to prepare you for that. Did you have to do any interventions, new learning skills that you had to build up?
No, certainly. There was quite a bit of upgrading that I did while I was working as a geo or geologist, as we call it. So, one was building up that technical or operational acumen.
Okay.
I spent lots and lots of hours with different functional leaders. So from HSE to mining engineering to geotech to kind of understand truly like what the mining role was about. So from that perspective, I made sure that I got in the hours.
Yeah.
And then I did extra work.
Yeah.
So I did courses on project management.
Yeah.
I did courses on advanced Python, Excel, those small, I would say small technical skills that I needed to, become aware of and brush up my skills on.
Yeah.
So there are courses available. YouTube is a relatively free
Yeah.
resource.
Yeah.
I used it. There's Coursera. There are different types of resources that are available that I took leverage of. Like I invested my time in that at my spare time. And then what I would do in addition to learning, I would try to implement those skills that I saw on YouTube or the courses and see how I can use them within my actual work. So I
Yes.
would do
Yes.
many projects for
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
I look at data that's available and say, well, I believe there's a gap here. Let me see with the knowledge that I'm developing, how can I better improve this process?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what happened, and that's how I was able to move from a purely technical geology field to then analytics at a different level.
Okay. And what I'm hearing is that you had to foster this curiosity in what others are doing, health and safety, your mining operations and so forth. And that level of understanding, which is really the business acumen, right, of how all of this fits in together, becomes the starting point of, I suppose, moving sideways, upwards, and so forth, doing different roles. Secondly, was empowering yourself with other skill sets, right? Project management and so forth, in order to be able to be considered for other opportunities. In a way, however, I suppose being a geologist involves a lot of analysis anyway,
Exactly, it
right?
does.
So moving across to business analysis, it was actually quite a seamless transition. And I'm mentioning this because at times when we think about careers and career progression, we never think about it that way. We tend to think that I studied this and I'm going to be stuck here,
Yes.
whereas it's not true. that was just a seed planted. It's opening different opportunities where you can use that base qualification to actually open doors for something else, but apply the principles. Okay.
That's
No.
exactly as it is. It's about identifying the patterns as opposed to sticking to like the core material.
Yeah.
Geology has a lot of analysis, a lot of creativity. It's being able to see that and say, I have the skill set. The methodologies are similar. How can I use these methodologies
Yeah.
in a different setting?
Yeah.
And being open-minded enough to actually do that.
Okay. So geology to analyst to digital marketing.
Yes. So after my MBA, I got an opportunity to actually implement some of the learnings that I had within digital marketing. I was working under the data strategy function.
Okay.
And the purpose of me moving or making this move actually was to get exposure to big data analytics. It's something that is developing in mining space, but the digital marketing world already has it. So I wanted to be able to use my skill set in a different environment to see if I was able to, have the confidence to move from one industry to the next,
Yeah.
but also see the different skills that are used in digital marketing that perhaps are not in mining, and perhaps to see like what can we use within digital marketing back into mining,
Yeah.
like how can we be creative
Yeah.
from a technological aspect as well.
Yeah. And what if you discovered, I like that marriage, by the way. I wouldn't have thought of mining, exploring digital marketing, but it makes sense the more I think about it.
Yeah.
So what are you discovering in that respect?
Very good question. So in my time in data strategy, a lot of digital marketing companies were looking to use a generative AI, which is basically artificial intelligence that generates a text, images based on user guidance. An example of how generative AI can be used in mining is actually to enhance safety. It's also another way it could be used in the mining industry is to do predictive analytics on the operational processes.
Okay.
And the other way, in geology specifically, is to help geologists discover deposits in a faster, more efficient way. So we use satellite images, historical data, as well as just geographical operational data to essentially do a scan over land and say, well, our next potential prospect could be in X location. That's using a form of artificial intelligence
Yeah.
that's not necessarily widely used at the current moment in mining space.
And I'm happy we went there because when I think of digital marketing, simplistically, my mind went to retail, online,
Yeah.
and so forth, those type of industries. But I wouldn't have necessarily, mining wouldn't have come, to mind
Yes.
at all. And I'm happy we went there because it just shows you how broad and how flexible these careers are and that they can add value practically in any industry.
Exactly. The advancements of technology has opened up so many opportunities for the youth and in the mining industry as well. We're able to explore deposits that were deeper seated just because of how technology has advanced. So the possibilities are endless, especially when we are able to see the connecting pieces from one industry to the next. We can actually make quite a huge difference being able to explore properly while ensuring the safety of people at the same time.
Yeah. And what we haven't necessarily spoken about is that these opportunities, correct me if I'm wrong, you were working mostly outside of the country.
Yes, for geology or the mining industry, I was working primarily in South Africa.
Okay.
And then in digital marketing, I was based in Argentina.
Okay. And how would you contrast the firstly the digital marketing. This, if you think about in the South African mining context, right? And to expand on that, whether you're doing mechanized mining or conventional mining, is there a difference in terms of how digital marketing could work, or not necessarily it would actually unlock possibilities there, especially for conventional, right? Not mechanized mining, which I think we still have quite a few mining houses or sites that are more traditional and not mechanized.
Yeah, very good question. There are different types of mining, of course, and it's easy to fall in the trap that there's a one size fits all when it comes to implementing technological solutions or data driven solutions to the industry. So I would say, firstly, we need to understand where the gaps are in terms of maturity as well. As you mentioned, mechanized mining, conventional mining are completely different. So it's very difficult to say, well, we'll take the solution we've used in digital marketing and directly implement it. It will just not work like that. We need to be able to understand where the gaps are and how we can extract certain elements that we've learned from digital marketing within the different types of mining
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. I mean, digital marketing in mining is almost, you want to make mining look sexy, right? So
It's like completely two different worlds. Like the one is like on the ground and the other is like in the office. It's a completely different world, I know. But that's where the fun part of
yeah,
technology and
yeah,
AI come into to
yeah,
play. Like our worlds are
yeah,
intertwined so much
yeah.
that if we confine ourselves in our silos, we'll lose that opportunity to
Yes,
actually make a huge difference.
yes. Look, I mean, what you're saying is quite important. I think earlier you mentioned health and safety and how this assists in that, right? Mining safely becomes critical, not killing people. Mining efficiently and effectively becomes important, also for the environment, so that we're just not mining everywhere, but also how we can rehabilitate that. That speaks to that, but also simple productivity,
Yes.
out of that. And then when you look at the Argentinian experience, do you speak Spanish?
Mi no habla español. Un poquito español.
I had no clue what you said, right? So I'll take it in good faith that you were saying good things. Uh,
No, Argentina. Wow. That's all I can say.
yeah,
Like, if I'm being truly honest, my preparation for it could have been better.
yeah,
I think I went in to Argentina thinking I'm going to be living in Buenos Aires.
yeah,
It is the capital city of this country.
yes,
Of course, they speak English. There is
yeah,
no way they
yeah,
don't speak English. And I will make a plan.
yeah,
Like, I even said to some of my friends and family that I want to learn Spanish. You know, you
yeah,
say it as if it's a hobby. I
yes,
want to learn
yeah,
Spanish.
as a casual thing.
Yeah. Then when I arrived, it was like, wow, a culture shock upon culture shock.
Yes,
But I believe I took it in good stride.
yes, yes,
I I understood that this is my knowledge gap area, and I needed to do something. I needed to be proactive in order for me to be able to immerse myself fully into the experience.
yeah,
So I took up Spanish
yeah,
lessons. My Spanish is not good, but I took up Spanish
yeah,
lessons,
yeah,
and I was able to navigate much better
yes, yes,
in the streets of Buenos
yeah,
Aires, but also be able to communicate with locals too.
yeah. And in terms of your work itself, was that in English at least?
Yes. It was in English, but that made it easy then for me to be comfortable not learning Spanish,
Yes,
right? So I told myself that I don't want to be in this different country and leave and say, well, I lived in Argentina, but I don't know anything about the culture. I don't know anything about the language. I was just there. So my mindset shifted the moment I got the opportunity. My mindset shifted to say, well, I'm there already. I'm going to make the most out of this opportunity and learn as much as I possibly can while I'm in this new geography.
Yeah.
And I took this opportunity primarily because I wanted to round myself up as a professional and also personally, having lived in 3 different continents at my age is quite an achievement for me. And it's something that I want to continue doing, getting that exposure, being able to understand people, their behavior. And I feel that that has directly impacted how I perceive the world as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're quite right. I mean, you've Europe, South America, Africa, right?
Yes.
What have you learned from that? When you look at how do we approach work? Is there a difference between these 3 continents, or is there a common thread?
There are differences and similarities, definitely. One thing that is quite certain is that we are all people and we
Yeah,
all have feelings, and we all need to treat each other with some form of empathy. That is the common theme that I've seen in terms of differences. Of course, like there are cultural differences, language differences, and the most important aspect is to try to understand what the different cultures perceive as productive in their space, as opposed to coming in with the attitude of this is how we do it,
yeah,
and I want to instill this in this culture per se,
yeah,
and I don't want to learn elsewhere.
yeah,
We do take similar approaches in terms of how businesses function, but it is that how we approach people, like the more empathy side, I would say that there's a bit of, you know, slight difference.
yeah,
It's something that is needed, but
yeah.
it's a bit different,
Okay.
the
So
approach,
the business processes are possibly similar, but the ways of work
the ways of
almost
work.
got cultural nuances
Yes.
to it, which is quite important in a global world, right? Global world, because you do need to know how others are doing things, because we're not alone.
Yes. And we need each other to function. And I think that's really important. Like operating in silos doesn't take us anywhere. And working in these different geographies, I saw the importance of, you know, just knowing a different language, how
Yeah,
that connects you so much more to your audience, that you are able to actually contribute in a better way,
yeah,
as opposed to keeping within what you know. It's really important to expand yourself as a person, and I believe I've done that
yeah,
by putting myself in these uncomfortable environments. I was able to grow as a professional.
yeah. I mean, it almost looks deliberate, right? Where you choose the most difficult routes to do this. Is there something that you're trying to explore or learn about yourself in this process? Because it's not usual to move from an English speaking country to a Spanish speaking country, right? And literally where there's hardly any English spoken, to go do a job, not even study,
Yeah.
right? To go do a real job. Um, that's like stretching yourself. What are you trying? What's the drive? What are you trying to discover?
I suppose the driving factor is just general continual improvement. If I introspect and look at the different things I've done, different phases of my life, I've always strived to be in different places. So I grew up in Pietermaritzburg. I did most of my high school learning there. And I specifically applied for universities outside of KZN
Yeah.
because that was going to give me an opportunity to be away from home. There's no family, so I can
Okay.
govern myself. I wanted to learn that skill.
Okay.
And I then got an opportunity to work in the Northern Cape,
Yeah.
a very isolated part of South
Yeah.
Africa. Again, I learned a different part of myself.
Yeah.
And I gained even more confidence. I believe all of these phases helped me. And it might seem deliberate,
Yeah.
but actually not necessarily. Sometimes an opportunity opens up itself up,
Yeah.
and I had a choice. I either take it or I stay in my comfort zone and don't.
Yeah.
And from the growth that I've had so far, I've always experienced growth outside of my comfort zone. So whenever an opportunity came along, I took it, and I told myself, I'll see what happens when I get there.
Yeah. I mean, it's about opportunity and taking the gap, right?
Yes.
And you're absolutely right. And for me, I think where it resonates as well is when I reflect on the unemployed graduates, even those that are skilled, is to firstly explore, secondly, have the courage to take those opportunities. They may not necessarily be in country. And it's not a loss, right? Because I think it's a mindset shift. So, on the one side, we need to almost protect against the loss of skills because we do need to retain skills, especially in people that have technical STEM related type skills because we need them, right?
Yes.
At the same time, the evolution in those fields is so fast and furious that you do need them to go out into the world, explore. The trick is bringing them back home,
Yeah.
right? Like you've come back home, to come and plant back. So where to from here now that you back home? Hopefully your suitcase is still not packed, when you're planning to go somewhere else. Where to from here?
Very good question. The different industries that I've been exposed to and experiences make it very difficult for me to pigeonhole myself in a specific route. I grew up having a plan all the time. I had a career progression, set up and say, well, I'm starting as a geologist. I want to end up here. And life has shown me that life doesn't work like that. So in terms of where now, I would like ideally to be able to contribute back to the mining industry.
Okay.
But at the same time, I'm very much open to opportunities where I can learn about different ways in which analytics, technology, and artificial intelligence are being used in different industries, such that I can build up my skill set in that to then come back again to contribute to the mining industry.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. So you were, I see in your resume, you were a top 20, achiever at high school level. Was that in the country or in the province?
Within the school itself,
Okay,
yes,
within the school itself.
yes.
And you also made it in the News 24 top 100 future Mandelas. So how, to be counted amongst, those that have potential, does it bring extra pressure on you to, kind of the need, like, I need to succeed and not disappoint anybody?
Very good question. Sometimes it does, but I use that pressure as a force to encourage me to be better. I mentioned earlier that I strive for continual improvement, and for me personally, sitting in one position doesn't benefit me. I can't even sleep properly just sitting in one position, not moving, no opportunities. So I believe I see these accolades as a testament to the work that I do, to the effort that I actually put in bettering myself. So I'm not in competition with anyone. I tell myself I'm not in competition with anyone. I'm rather in competition of with myself, and I want to be the best version that I can possibly be. The accolades just come after as a result.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, outside of all these achievements, I see you like basketball, and badminton. Who plays badminton? Let's start there.
I do. Badminton is such a beautiful sport. It's
And,
so calm.
and you've got somebody to play it with here?
So growing up, my parents would buy us random sports. I say random sports kits because sometimes I feel like they went to the shop and said, "Okay, now you're going to play the sports. I
Yeah.
bought this. You'll play
Okay,
this one."
that explains it. That explains it.
So I first started playing with my brother in our backyard,
Yeah.
just tossing the shuttle across, and then I learned it was an actual sport in high school, and I participated in it, and it was fun. It didn't have the pressure of tennis, but it was still competitive, and that's what I loved about it.
I see. And basketball, your favorite team?
This is contentious. Lakers,
Lakers.
yes.
Okay, we'll invite you back. We agree on that score. Ladies and gentlemen, Lindokuhle Makhathini, you saw her here first. We have the privilege to have you here, and we know that you're going to add great value into this world. So if you're looking for a geologist, an analyst, a digital marketer, and more, this is her.
I'm
Thank you.
here. Thank you so much for the opportunity once again. It was great having a conversation with you.
Thank you so much.